Troy Zan, is that a canoe in your pocket? Welcome to Drop Your Buffs. Well, we're back for episode 2. Well, it's really episode 3, isn't it, of Survivor Game Changers. With me tonight, as usual, Craig. How's it going?
G'day, Stu. G'day, everyone. How are you?
I think we're all pretty good. We're all stoked to come back for another episode of Survivor, of course.
Absolutely.
And, of course, this is a very special episode for us particularly, as it starts off with our own special Drop Your Buffs.
Fantastic. It happened very early, straight off the bat.
Very early.
Straight into Drop Your Buffs.
I reckon this would have to be the earliest Drop Your Buffs in the history of Survivor.
We'll have to do some research on that, but I can't remember it ever happening this early.
No.
Certainly not with such spectacular.
No, that's right. And Zeke guessed it as well,
He called
too,
it.
didn't he?
Yeah, he called it. He knows what's going on, Zeke, doesn't he?
Zeke called it, yeah.
He's quite astute, I reckon. The way he's... Yeah,
I think he is, yeah.
I like Zeke.
He's a smart cookie.
Yeah, I reckon he is. I think he might go a fair way.
Well, we ended up with 3 tribes, so we've gone from 2 to 3, with Green being the new tribe. Craig, can you take us through the new tribes?
Yeah, it's worth going through the new tribes and all the old alliances, where they came from as well, because I think that's relevant. So I'll start with the new tribe, Tavua. They're in green, and that tribe is now Troy, Zan, Siri, Zeke, Ozzy, Andrea, and Sarah. And only Troy Zan came from the Mana tribe. The other 5 were all on Nuku.
Mm-hmm.
The new Mana tribe in red is Ty, Caleb, Culpepper, Haley, Sierra, and Debbie. Caleb and Haley both came from the Mana tribe originally, and Ty, Culpepper, Sierra, and Debbie were all from Nuku. And over on the new Nuku, which is in blue, we've got Malcolm, Michaela, JT, Sandra, Aubrey, and Jeff Varner. And of those, only JT came from the Nuku tribe.
Right. And it's worse, of course, for Green, because Green has really been treated as a brand new tribe, and they're completely starting over. So they're just getting the basic equipment. They have to build their own shelter.
They're right back at square one. Although, to be fair, I mean, we're only, 6 days into the season, I think. So, they're probably not that far behind. I mean...
The other tribes, they all were able to scavenge things from the boat from the very first episode, remember? So they could, true. So they had various supplies and so on. And Ozzy's tribe in that first episode, he won them all those extra tools and all that sort of thing. So
we saw the new Nuku tribe with particularly Malcolm and Jeff arriving at the beach, and I don't think Malcolm could quite believe his luck. He was at just how well they were set up. They had a great shelter. They had the fishing gear. They had chickens.
They had decorations.
They had decorations on it. I just don't think they could quite believe it. I mean, Jeff was saying, I've got here and I haven't spoken. My jaw's on the floor because I just haven't spoken because this place is so amazing. So another thing to note also, just before we move on from the new tribes, is Mana. On that tribe, we've got Ty, Caleb, and Debbie, who all played together in a previous season not that long ago.
That's right.
And that's quite relevant to what happened later.
With that tribal pick, that was all just a random pick, wasn't it?
Yeah, completely random, yeah.
Have they done... It often is random, but they have done tribe swaps and so on where it's been chosen by the producers, haven't they? I'm sure that they've done ones where it hasn't been random. It's not random every time.
Well, they've done schoolyard pick ones before. I remember that happening. I don't know if I can remember them being... I mean, they're obviously allocated at the very start by the producers. That's what's happened in this one.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
If there was a random draw, we didn't see it. I don't know. Normally, I think it's all left a bit to chance, isn't it?
It is normally. And in fact, I think it's worked out pretty well for the tribes because they're all pretty well balanced. I think I can't see any particular tribe of those 3 that seems to have an unfair advantage.
Yeah, I agree with that. When you look at the strong players who generally the ones you need at this stage of the game, certainly up until Emerge. You've got Aussies on one tribe, you've got Caleb and Culpepper on Mana tribe, and you've got JT and Malcolm over on another tribe. So yeah, it's a nice, good split of those.
It's fairly even split between male and female, I think, as well.
Which is pretty much. So it's kind of worked out pretty well, I reckon, to set up a good competition.
Yeah. Now, back on the blue tribe, I think you were talking about how much they were loving their new digs. Basically, there was all it was all set up for them and so on. And as you mentioned earlier, JT is the odd one out in this particular tribe, and he wants to look for an idol pretty much straight away.
Yeah, and I love the way he did this too. Hey, let's go fishing. And, oh no, I need to get the pliers because we've broken the spear. I'll go looking for it. And he wasn't fooling anyone, was he? They knew exactly what he was doing.
But wasn't it? I just loved the footage of them doing the fishing. Lots of great underwater photography and some aerial photography. It just looked beautiful.
It did look pretty nice.
Yeah, it looked really nice. We haven't seen some good fishing footage for a while, I don't think.
Yeah, they did well. But look, he wasn't fooling anyone.
I mean,
that's pretty fun.
How long could he really think that he could be searching for an idol before they got suspicious? Only about 5 minutes, really.
It did actually look quite late in the day too. If you
when he
first waded in, like the sun was quite high in the sky, but at the end, when they were still clearly on the raft floating about, talking about it, it looked like the sun had gone down quite a bit. So I'd say he was gone for a very long time.
I know, and of course the others were suspicious, but they weren't really, sort of
they didn't seem too worried about it,
racing
really?
To get back in. No. Were they? They weren't really all that worried about it, so that was a bit weird.
Well, I think they probably figure, that. They probably think they're pretty strong as an alliance from the old Mana tribe. I don't think anyone was taking it too seriously at this point.
And then we go over to the Red tribe. That's the Mana tribe, isn't it?
That's the Mana tribe. Yeah,
Mana
that's right.
tribe.
And we saw Culpepper doing his decorating. So he must have been responsible for all that stuff that the new Nuku discovered when they got there.
I guess so. Yeah, I think in this season he's really showing his sensitive side, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think in his first season he was a bit. I don't know. He was very abrasive in the first season that he was in, I thought.
Oh, yeah, he
really rubbed people the wrong way.
Firing all sorts of hand grenades at tribal council and saying all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, but anyway, he likes to decorate. He's up building the shelter. And then we had him and Ty having a very confusing conversation. Did you follow that? Basically, it was talking about, should Caleb go first? And at that point, I hadn't had time at that point to digest what the new tribes were and where the alliances are, and I thought, why would you go Caleb first?
Well, I think it was clear from certainly what Culpepper said was that he wanted Caleb gone because he was worried about that trio alliance of the old Kaorong people. So
but particularly Ty and Caleb, who formed a very unlikely friendship in the game, which, from everything I've seen, continued after the game. So people were obviously very worried about that.
Yeah.
And where that might go and how hard it might be to break that up, which is understandable.
Yeah, and so certainly because they're all thinking of Haley and Caleb as being on the bottom, but out of those two, Culpepper really wanted Caleb just because he was worried about about those three. But he was sort of trying not to. He was saying he was trying not to be the leader. He was trying not to make the decision. He wanted Ty to make that decision, so he didn't stick his own neck out. And I think in his roundabout way, he was trying to coax Ty into where he wanted him to go.
I think that's what he was doing.
Because he was talking about, Ty, I think you should think about the long game and, trying to play the game that is best for you, which means voting Caleb out. That was Culpepper's.
That's what Culpepper's argument.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't necessarily agree that that's correct, but that's certainly what he was selling. Then we ducked over to Tavua, the new Tavua Green tribe. And look, we didn't actually see much of these guys, did we, really? After
probably the least
tribe swap, we didn't have much. And
Aussie, they were too busy building a shelter.
Well, they've got a lot to do. They don't have much stuff, but it was good to see Aussie taking a bit of a lead and being quite positive about things, wasn't he? We've got lots of palm fronds, we've got more coconuts than they've got. Okay, we haven't got the fishing gear, we haven't got the chickens, but we're good here. We got stuff we can work with.
He seemed worried though, because I guess he was worried about the fact that people just see him as a natural threat anyway. Because I don't think he wasn't particularly singled out or the odd one out in the same way that JT and Troyzan were.
No. He's on a much more even tribe in terms of where the tribe members have come from. Yeah.
But I think he's just naturally worried, just himself as having a target. So he was talking about just trying to use his skills a bit more and try and show how valuable he was to the tribe, and that they shouldn't get rid of him just yet.
And look, given his physical ability and challenges, particularly his Aquaman swimming ability, I would have thought he's pretty safe at least until the merge. But you never know in Survivor, do you? But certainly he was talking to Siri, and he and Siri have had an interesting relationship throughout their Survivor journeys. And they were having a chat and a bit of an acknowledgement that they need each other and they can work together and they might be able to do good things. And that Troyzan is really their easy first pick because he's odd man out, being the only member of Tavua tribe who came. He's on his own basically.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So Yeah, so then we see this sort of exchange on the beach. Well, firstly, we hear from Andrea, and she's talking about how they all want Troyzan to go, but they want to make him feel nice about it, though, don't they?
Yeah.
So he's
cool, she said, but we'll get rid of him.
That's right. So she's acting like she's all really, she's being all clever and sneaky and so on, and playing this sort of social game that Troyzan just sees through straight away.
And then we cut straight to Troyzan. She's a little devil.
Yeah.
Not as clever as she thinks she is. My intuition's really good because I'm the old guy in the tribe, is basically what he was saying.
Actually, I'm really going for Troyzan at the moment because I didn't really
You're a
have.
fan?
Sorry?
You're a fan?
Yeah, well, I guess I was a bit unfamiliar with his game from the earlier seasons. I couldn't quite remember what he was like, but I think he's really coming across as a nice guy who's also a good player and a clever player. So.
And he can find clues to immunity idols, as we discovered tonight, which he did last time.
Well, he found that the literal message in the bottle, wasn't it?
It was literally half
washed up on the beach.
Just happened to wash up on the beach. Yeah, found it there. But it wasn't actually an idol. It was a clue to where he might find one. And we've seen this before, haven't we, where they plant an idol somewhere in the challenge and you've got a hell of a time to try and retrieve it.
Exactly. And I think that this has been one of the.
I love this, by the way.
Yeah. It's been one of the best little tweaks that they've done to the game in recent seasons, and it's really stressful watching it. Actually, isn't it?
How are they going to get? I remember. I'm trying to remember who it was that this happened to last time. I can picture her, but I can't remember her name. But I remember watching that one. I was going, oh my gosh, is she going to get it? It was more interesting than the challenge itself to see if she would actually pick it up in the same way this way.
Exactly.
And you could see the stress on his face as he's trying to work out how am I going to get this idol at the challenge. But before we got there, we had some goats to catch over at Nuku.
That's right.
How did you feel about the goats? What would you have done?
It was terrible.
I would have let them go.
When you saw that poor little baby goat, it was such a cute goat. How could you possibly kill that goat? But Sandra, she
wanted the goat. We're going to eat the goat.
She wouldn't waste a second killing that goat, would she?
Cut its throat. Adios.
I thought it was funny how for years and years we've been talking about goats on Survivor. And I think this is the first time we've actually seen
got real goats. Real goats. Yeah, absolutely.
Goats.
I was always backing JT, that JT would be able to catch a boat. Yes, catch a goat. I mean, he's a rancher, isn't he, from somewhere in the south of the United States? So I had no doubt. But then Malcolm managed to corner one. But then I think he was quite honest when he said, well, look, the only reason I was able to catch it is because this is a mummy goat and a baby goat.
Yeah,
and the mummy goat was hanging around because the baby goat was in distress. And so really I can't take credit for it. And I quite liked this. I think we saw some true characters here, I think. The true character of some of these survivors. So we saw Sandra, I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to be nice. I'm going to cut the goat's throat and eat it. Whereas everyone else is going, no, we can't do that.
Well, Malcolm said it's the goat version of Bambi, basically,
Yes.
is what he was saying. But
that's a good line.
Imagine if Ty had been on this tribe.
Oh, gosh.
Imagine Ty and Sandra on the same tribe debating over killing an animal.
Sandra probably would have eaten Ty.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well,
at
thankfully,
the end of the day,
all the goats were let go.
The goats had a reprieve, and I think they decided to eat a chicken instead, didn't they?
Well, they talked about it, but who was it that mentioned that?
Oh, gosh. The chicken sound effect. I can't remember.
Michaela.
It was Michaela, was it?
She was saying, we've got these 4 chickens, why are we arguing about goats for? But I think it was basically all that we saw of Michaela in this episode.
We didn't see a lot.
No.
We didn't see a lot of her at all. And anyway, we didn't see them eating a chicken, but they talked about doing it, so I think we should assume they did.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah. Well, I said they were going to do it tonight.
Oh, okay.
But we didn't see it.
Well, there were 4, so next episode we'll have to see if there's 3.
We'll have to count.
Yeah, we'll have to count.
Have we named any of our chickens yet?
I haven't heard them named.
I haven't heard any names for the chickens. So.
No.
Anyway, so that was that.
Challenge, finally.
Challenge time, yep.
It was a immunity and reward challenge, 2 for 1.
Yep.
And this one we had the reward also was there was a tarp for the winner, and the winner got to choose between comfort items or spices and sauces and so on.
Pillows versus food flavor.
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
And the team that came second got the other prize, the pillows or the spices, depending.
And what I liked about this challenge was the first appearance in this season of the teeter-totter in a challenge. I just love that name for a seesaw. What we would call a seesaw, they call a teeter-totter. I just love that.
But to be fair, they're both pretty silly names, aren't they?
Oh, they're completely stupid. But seesaw, teeter-totter. I don't know. I just liked it. I always crack up whenever I hear that.
It is, yeah. It's very amusing. This one had sort of two parts to the challenge. The first part was the more physical part, the obstacle course, but you had 3 people in each team tied together that had to do it.
Yeah.
The final section was the puzzle solving part.
Yeah. Yep. And look, it was pretty close, wasn't it? Really.
Yeah, that was.
I think Mana Tribe fell a little bit behind there at one stage because they decided to go through that jungle of wooden beams and so on, the maze, whatever we're calling it. But they sort of caught up, and in the end, it was quite close when it came to solving the puzzle.
Yes, yeah, yep, exactly.
In the end, Nuku won.
Yes, they saw it just before the challenge actually started. They had a quick shot of that hidden immunity idol that was tied to the table, and Troy Zan was sort of basically saying, "Well, I can't actually get it yet because that part was at the end of in the sort of puzzle section." He was competing in. Was he in the first part with
no, he was in the puzzle solving, wasn't he?
He was in the puzzle solving, yeah. But anyway, he wasn't allowed to go near that table, I think, until I got to that part of it. So he had to sit there watching it. Had he actually seen it?
Well, I don't know. It was over the back, so maybe he didn't.
I don't think he did because the later on, didn't seem like he knew exactly where it was, did he?
No, the clue said it was on the back right-hand leg of the table. So presumably standing where he was looking at the table, he couldn't see it there.
Yeah.
So he must have known it was on the other side. But yeah, how do you get around there without it looking suspicious? That's the challenge of this challenge.
Well, it looked to me anyway. I know that the camera was focusing on it, but it looked reasonably.
It's pretty conspicuous, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and it was.
But if you're not around the back, if you haven't gone around the back of that challenge, you're not going to see it.
No,
and there was no reason for anyone to go around that side.
That's right, because I was solving the puzzle from the front side.
Correct, exactly.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, because it was actually tied up in this sort of fluorescent green string as well. So it was very.
It was pretty obvious. Well, we knew because we had the advantage of knowing it was there. But when they showed it, it was quite large. And then the next thing is, how do you get something that big? How do you conceal something that big? And anyway, he dumped it straight down his pants in the end, didn't he?
Exactly. I mean, what would have happened if it was someone that wasn't wearing as many clothes, for instance, and didn't have as many places to put something like that? Although I guess in that case, the person would have been pre-warned and they would have worn more clothes probably, so they could have concealed something.
Not necessarily. That would have been interesting. What if he found himself in a situation where he got the idol, but had nowhere to put it? What would happen then?
That's right.
Anyway, none of that happened. Troy Zan got the idol. Nuku won the challenge, the tarp and the body comfort stuff.
That's the blue tribe.
That's the blue tribe. Tavil, the green tribe, came second, so they got immunity plus the spices. Troy Zan got the idol, put it down his pants. Mana goes to tribal council, and Debbie finally speaks. It's the first time we've seen her talk tonight.
That's right. Yeah.
Pretty much since the start of the whole season.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So back at Mana after the challenge, scrambling begins. Yes,
and it seems pretty obvious that it's coming between Haley and Caleb. They're the ones that are on the chopping block. And Ty he seems to be protecting Caleb, doesn't he? Like
seems to be, yeah.
He obviously values that friendship and doesn't want Caleb to go, but he's got a bit of.
He used the word betrayal. It weighed heavily on him.
Yeah, and I guess he has that subtle pressure from Culpepper's on the background there. Sort of pulling the.
Well, I mean, Culpepper's argument basically was that Caleb, will hurt his game. I don't know that I see that, but except for, as we talked about before, just that they are known to have a close relationship in and out of the game, and that might go badly for them. But I would have thought this early, you can use that to get yourself somewhere and see what you can do with it.
You'd think so. I mean, I'm sure that some of the other players have sort of close ties and so on as well. Yeah. But would you probably say though that Ty and Caleb have the closest tie out of everyone?
Oh, I'd have to think about that. Certainly one of the closest. I think you'd find there are.
I'm sure that there's others that know each other well and so on and can work well together. But yeah, I agree. I think that it would be a concern for Ty, but nothing had to be addressed on this episode. I
think it was too early to make that move. But anyway. It is what it is. Off we go to Tribal Council.
After Tribal Council, yes.
with the new tribal council music as well. That's clearly going to be a permanent feature. We've seemed to have ditched the old tribal council music.
Yeah, well, it's
we have
great.
New tribal council music. You like it?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. It's good.
I'm quite attached to the old one.
Well, I guess the new one is a kind of a sea shanty type sort of a feel to it. So.
It is a bit of a sea shanty in a game-changing episode.
Bit of a yo-ho-ho, the bottle of rum.
Oh, gosh. Bottles on the beach. Ah, that's the bottle on the beach. More shipwreck theme.
It's a bit of a cross between Pearl Islands, you know.
Yeah, it is a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, so, and Jeff jumped straight into it. He's just talking about the worries about the people have about past relationships. And that's all really...
The Debbie, Ty, Caleb relationship is that a problem. Is it unnerving? And Debbie said, well, yes, it is unnerving that people know that we have that relationship. So that's out there.
That's right. I thought Culpepper, I thought he was playing a pretty good game actually, because he was asked a couple of questions by Jeff, and he gave, I thought, very measured responses that didn't really betray, you know, his thoughts either way. It was, you know, he gave some very diplomatic sort of answers back, and I don't know, like it seems like he's sort of reining himself in a bit for this season, more so than he did last season.
Do you think he might have learnt from what happened last time?
It seems so. You know, I think he's playing a pretty smooth game at the moment.
I agree, and as you said before, you know, he's taking a leadership role, but not making it look like he's doing that. So he's got Ty dancing to his tune straight off.
Exactly.
You know, he's actually managed to get Ty to vote against a close friend, and so he's clearly got some influence. Yeah, so he's playing a good strategic game there.
That's right. Yeah. Well, then we see when they're actually writing the votes and they're in the voting vestibule, as we like to call it.
We're now calling it. Yeah, we've never called it that before, but we are now. Thanks, right. Dave, from last week.
And it was Ty. Ty was really thinking hard about it, wasn't he?
He was agonising over it.
Scratching his head and so on. And okay, Craig, so what was the...
Well, in the end, it wasn't close. There only two got voted for, Caleb and Hayley. Caleb went down 5-1. So everyone except himself obviously voted for him. So once again, on day 9, Caleb leaves the game.
That's pretty sad, really. I mean, he hasn't really had much of a chance. You know, I think he's a strong player, and I think he would have done well, but he hasn't really been able to get past those initial episodes, has he?
I don't feel we've had the chance to see what he can do. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's not the last we see of young Caleb. If they give him a third go at some point in the future.
Do you think they would, though? Because maybe they think, well, you know, maybe for whatever reason he's not that sort of person that can just get further. So maybe they should try with someone else. I'm not sure whether they would.
I think he was unlucky again. He was unlucky in the first series with that tribe where he was backed out, and tonight's episode, I think he was a victim of just the way the buffs fell when the tribe swap happened. Yeah,
and he gave Ty a big kiss on the head when he left as well, and he would have to be pretty cut up about that.
You'd be hurt, wouldn't you?
Say.
Yeah. That one doesn't sit well with me. As we've talked about, I don't understand. I understand that there were clearly some alliances going on involving Ty and the people he began the game with, but I think it was way too early to make a big move like that to get rid of someone like Caleb. They could have really used that relationship to go a lot further and deal with it later. Get to the merge and deal with it later if it had to be dealt with, but there's no need to do it now.
Well, I think this is probably going to be the end, the beginning of the end for Ty, really, because it's just showing up again. He has such an unpredictable game. I can't see anyone really trusting him, because even though Culpepper's...
Yeah, after he's prepared to do that. Vote out someone who's close to.
He can be swayed by someone.
Swayed by anyone, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think even Culpepper, who's happy to pull the strings at the moment, you think that he'd be worried about Ty flipping for no real reason, because that's what Ty does.
Because someone else gets in his ear and manages to convince him to do something that's in their interest. So, I agree. Yeah, I think also that's not a great result for the Mana tribe. You're down to Ty, Culpepper, Hayley, Sierra, and Debbie. So Culpepper's obviously strong, but I think they would have been a lot better off with Caleb there as well. He was one of the reasons they got as far as they did in that challenge. They still lost, but he put them back in the game.
Yes, well, actually just talking about Caleb and how he leads us into the Survivor Fantasy League. Because as it came down to tonight, because we're talking about Hayley versus Caleb, well, Hayley's on my team, Caleb's on Craig's team.
Exactly, and that's another reason why I'm a little bit upset about this, because I no longer get any points from Caleb now that he's gone. But how are the points going? I haven't had a chance to look yet.
Well, I'm glad Haley didn't go because seeing as I lost Sierra in the first episode, if I lost Haley, I'd be down 2 people already. So it's at the moment we've got Craig is still on top with Survivors Ready on 90 points.
Really? How did that happen?
Well, you've got a clear lead at the moment, and equal second is Andrew Torrens with the Ferrari Ducks and Matt Tarrant on Chester's Angels. They're both on 82.
Okay, so not far behind.
No, just behind is Nick with his team a bit nickish, and I'm still lagging well behind on 65 points. The Dragon Slayers, proving again that I did not rig this competition. That I'm definitely last. So there's no foul play.
Well,
and
I suspect that my star is going to fall now that I'm down to 3, but you never know. We'll see.
No, that's right. Well, you can, if you're just going to have a look in the show notes for this episode, you can see I'll put the link in there for the link to go and have a look at the at these stats for the fantasy league. But actually, all of the players are fairly equal in points earned. The ones that really have stood out is we've got Sandra, which is
she's on my team. Yeah, I love how she keeps appearing. I keep getting points every time she goes on
exactly.
screen.
She's top. She's had 18 confessionals and questions, which is a lot. With JT, who's on my side, so he's probably the only player on my side that's actually earning any points at all at the moment. So he's next on 28 points, and then Sari, also on your team, Craig, is probably the third best player. The rest are kind of all pretty much the same. So
all right,
pretty even.
See how it pans out.
So next episode.
Yes.
Next episode.
Yeah. What happens on the next episode? The preview looked pretty cool.
Well, firstly, we've got 2 tribes going to tribal.
By the looks of it, yep. And then we've got Jeff looking like he's in absolute shock at Tribal Council. What is that about?
And it takes a lot to shock Jeff.
He's seen a lot of Tribal Councils, so he looked genuinely shocked by whatever's just gone down.
That's right. You don't see too many expressions like that from Jeff. So.
I'm excited. Can't wait to see what that's about.
So I think that's all for tonight, Craig.
That's it.
Yeah. So thanks again for coming by to talk about Survivor.
Always a pleasure, Stu.
And I hope that you continue to do maybe not quite as well in the fantasy league as you have been doing. You know, just to back off a bit would be good.
All right, I'll do my best for you.
Okay. Okay. Thanks everyone. See you next time.
Adios.